when I moved to New York City, it was in 1984, and I was 17 years old. And I got very caught up in the club scene, which I liked, and I got into drugs, which I enjoyed quite a bit, especially hallucinogens. Any kind of psychotropic drug where I can get out of my head, out of my body, was something that I was very, very attracted to. And did other kinds of drugs as well, but that was really one of my main pulls. And when I got into yoga, I was able to get similar kinds of highs without actually having to introduce a drug into my body. And at the same time, experience a broader sense of consciousness, yet stay very grounded, very much in my body, healthy and safe. And drugs and alcohol just was something I just was no longer interested in. It didn't happen overnight. It took a little while to stop partying. But like any teenager, it's just kind of part of the self-exploration. But the more that I learned about yoga, the more present I wanted to be in the world, the more engaged I wanted to be. I wanted to bring heaven into earth. I didn't want to disappear or disconnect, and introducing chemicals into my body to alter my states of being just no longer seemed the direction that I wanted to go in or explore. It seemed the opposite of the state that I wanted to create. I wanted to be able to live that kind of expanded vision, but in a much more healthy way. So yoga was really instrumental for helping me to stay clean and to commit over these years. I don't drink, I don't do drugs now, I don't smoke, I don't drink caffeine, I don't do anything. But it's because I want to be really healthy, and the yoga supports that particular endeavor of mine, and it helps me to stay absolutely grounded no matter what conflict or crisis or anything that's overwhelming in my world. Whereas at one point, drugs and alcohol was a way to disconnect or to disappear from the bigger feelings. Yoga forces you to have to stay in your feelings and take responsibility. Within my own life now as an adult, I'm a 43-year-old woman, and I still rely on the practice of yoga to help me to deal with the challenges. The challenges now are different. They're grown-up challenges, and the most specific thing in my own life is over the last 7 years being in the experience of watching a parent slowly begin the process of dying, and having to be really present and responsible to being a part of that experience. And over the last 7 years, I've watched myself step in, and I've also watched myself withdraw. I've watched myself be incredibly present, and at other times ridiculously reactive. Death has a way of really bringing out the best in families as well as the worst. And if I didn't have my yoga practice, and if I didn't understand the continuum of things, I think that this process would have been that much harder. And my father now his body is slowly starting to shut down, and the process of that transition for a daughter is unbearable. But I trust within the yoga practice that this is a part of life. This is a part of, like I said before, the continuum of things. And it's taught me how to breathe, how to stay really present, how to be engaged in my father's process, how to not make it about me, and how to help support him, not as my father, but as a soul on this path, so that he can make this transition as gracefully and as lovingly as possible. But at the same time, the yoga practice allows me to have my feelings. I have to have my feelings, otherwise if I shut down, I'll get sick. So there have been moments in this process of watching my father in a hospital room, just overwhelmed with pain and with drugs and with everything that cancer brings. The grief has been, at times, unimaginable. And if I don't feel those feelings, then I cannot be really present to my dad or to my mom or with my brothers. So I can't let myself shut down or dissociate from this process. What yoga has always taught me, that this is a mind-body experience and that there's no separation between the mind-body. So what you feel becomes a manifestation of your physical being, of your cells. So if I'm repressing the sadness or the grief or even the rage, that energy becomes a vibration, and that vibration is what becomes tension or even stress or anxiety. And if I don't deal with that, that's going to affect my health, because it impacts the immune system, the hormonal system, the neurological system, etc. And it could leave me vulnerable to illness or even probably depression. And so being in the process of watching a parent succumb to an illness, if I don't deal with my feelings and get on that mat and move the tension and breathe, I will either shut down to this process or I will become incredibly reactive. And neither is how I want to experience my father's living or my father's dying. So I'm grateful for the practice of yoga, so that I can bear witness to this experience